Yeah, hi there. These comments are for RS, and I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-Step System to Pass the TOEFL IBT. Okay, so you say, some people say that it is best to be loyal and to work for one company during one's life. Others take the opposite view and say it is better to change jobs frequently in one's life. Discuss these positions, use examples of both, then tell which one you agree with and why. So you're saying, I cannot figure out how to do a thesis for this type of prompt. I really appreciate if you can help me out with this. So here's what I would say here. When you do your thesis, say something like this. You might say being loyal and working for one company during one's life, and then changing jobs a lot, both have advantages and disadvantages. In my opinion, I prefer to work for one company all of my life. That's it. So in the thesis, it's two parts. Part of the thesis tells your audience that you will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of these 2 points of view. And then the other part of the thesis tells what your position is. And you can talk about that in the final paragraph of your essay. That's what I would recommend there. Does that make sense? All right, let's keep going. You got more questions here. You said, I'd like to ask where I can see the writing test response models. Okay. Because, you see, you're not completing the writing practice test on my website. So because you're not doing it at my website, you're not going to see the model. If you complete the writing test at my website, at the appropriate web page, right after you do it, once it gets scored, you can go back there and you will see the model. So here's what I'm saying is, Raphael, you will see the model after you have completed a writing practice test and after it has been scored by my teaching assistant. See, I want students to actually do writing practice at my website. I don't want them to just go and read a bunch of models. You only get to see the model if you have completed a writing practice test. That's kind of how it works. So next time, when you do independent writing practice test number 4, complete it, save it, close it at my website. Once my teaching assistant scores it, he will give you some feedback there. Then you can kind of see the model right after that. So that's kind of how that works. All right, so let's go to your speaking here. Let me go ahead and download this. So you're doing independent speaking practice test number 2, am I right? And before I answer it, let me take a look at the question here so I can know what you're doing here. So let's see. So choose an event that has meaning for you. Explain how it has changed you. All right, so you say,
because it has made me a more responsible person, and it has helped me to start doing things by my own. The day I left my parents' house has a significant meaning for me.
Can we go back to the beginning again?
Because it has made me a more responsible person.
Okay, so you're more responsible, I got that.
And it has helped me to start doing things by my own.
Okay, so you have 2 points. So you've learned responsibility and independence by leaving your parents' home. That's the argument you're trying to make, right? So you put that in the topic statement, so it's pretty clear what you're trying to do with the speaking. Now, in the body of your response, you now need to illustrate these points of responsibility and independence, right? Let's see if you can do that.
The day I left my parents' house has a significant meaning for me. See things by my own. The day I left my parents' house has a significant meaning.
Okay, so the day I left my parents' house, I had a little bit of trouble understanding that.
Me. Since that day, I decide different things based.
I would say since that day, I have decided to. So when you're using since is a trigger for the present perfect tense, not the past there. I would actually use the present perfect. So since that day, I have.
On my own reasoning, and I do not follow anymore different suggestions by the people in general or by my parents, for instance. Additionally, I consider that start doing different things by myself.
So how does this relate to responsibility? Remember, when you give the example, the purpose of the example to illustrate the idea of responsibility and how having left your parents' house helped you to become more responsible. So I need to see that connection. I don't think you made that connection very clear in that part of your speaking.
My own is going to be very useful for the rest of my life, especially if we are talking about things like cleaning the house or cooking by my own, for example.
Again, so you're trying to illustrate this idea of independence. So if you gave an example, you might want to say, when I left my parents' house, I moved into an apartment, and at that time I had to pay my own bills, I had to wash my own clothes, and by doing things on my own, I learned how to be independent. So I don't think you really made that connection very clear in that part of your response. All right, so let's take a look at the rubrics here for a minute. Yeah, I think some problems here with topic development. I don't think that the examples that you gave didn't really prove the purpose of responsibility and independence. So that's a weak area here. Language use, the vocabulary you were using, it wasn't very precise. Delivery, not bad. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I had to listen to 2 or 3 parts of your response more than once or twice. So that's also maybe a minor issue there. Your score here, I'm going to put you at about 2.5 out of 4, 19 points out of 30 on this practice test.